Hey HCDA, and today I wanted to make a quick video to kind of help you decide whether or not you should buy Civilization 7 for yourself, especially considering the fact that there have been a lot of mixed reviews floating around about this game. Now, just to give you a little bit of a background about myself, I have played every single Civilization game starting from the very first game. And yes, I was extremely young when I was playing the first game, but still I have played all of them and I love every single one of them. I'm also not being sponsored or anything like that, so my opinions are my own. But anyway, why am I saying all of this? Well, because there has been a trend with pretty much every new release of Civilization, where all the people that have been playing the previous version are like, well, the new version is extremely bad and it doesn't do everything exactly like the previous version, so therefore the sky is falling. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with liking Civilization 6 or 5 or 4 or any of them really, because they're all pretty good games. But what is really funny is every time a new version comes out, there is always a large group of people saying that the previous version was better. So I have to admit I had to laugh a little bit when the exact same thing happened for the 6th time in a row when a new edition came out. Anyway, I think there is some merit to some of the complaints. For example, the UI is not the best it could be. Is it completely broken or unplayable or anything like that? No, it's just a little bit harder to find some of the information that I would prefer. I also think, without a doubt, this particular version of Civilization changes more things than any of the previous versions before did that. For example, the age system, in which you kind of have a mini reset to the game 2 or 3 times per game, depending on which age you start, do provide a little bit of a different type of game flow than what we had before. However, the developers have also been really clear about why they made that change, because in, for example, Civilization 6, you know usually about like 100 turns before the end already whether or not you're going to be winning, and all there is to do is kind of just press enter like 100 times, and that actually takes a long time because of how long a single turn can last before you actually win, which is honestly not fun. A lot of the games in Civilization 6 never get completed. Now, of course, there are also people that really like the last part of the game and that are kind of upset for that not being there. I get it, but it's very intentional, the change they made. In general, Civilization 7 is going to give you a more streamlined experience than any of the previous games. What a lot of people like is the early part of the game, where you really start to expand and build up your empire, and then by the mid to end game, things really slow down. You have a lot of workers all over the place in the earlier versions of the game. You have a lot of cities you have to micromanage. All of that has been streamlined in such a way that it's still there and you still need to do some micromanaging, but it's a lot less tedious. The age system also gives you kind of 3 mini games in a single playthrough of Civilization. So whereas usually in the ancient age you start to build up, and then by the middle age and the modern ages you are kind of just doing the same thing, or you might have already snowballed so far ahead of everyone else that the challenge is kind of gone. That doesn't really happen anymore, because at the start of every age there's kind of this rubber banding effect where everyone is more or less again back on the same footing and you have to rebuild your empire to some degree. Now, I get it, for a lot of people this is really frustrating, although again it's not as extreme as some people make it out to be, because you still keep most of your cities, most of your progress, your buildings, etc, etc, it's all still there, but you are kind of pushed forward into a new phase of the game, and yeah, you don't get that snowball effect as much as you used to. That does come with some side effects as well. For example, the game is slightly easier than it used to be, because even though the AI can get ahead of you quite badly, due to the age effect, you get caught up as soon as you get transitioned to the next age. Not entirely. If you're behind, you will still be behind after the transition, and if you're ahead, you're still going to be in a very good starting out position for the next age, but the difference is not as big as it used to be. Similarly, that also makes it so that it's a lot more viable to keep playing and keep catching up, even if you had a bad start or some of your cities get captured or things like that. That in a normal game of, for example, Civilization 5 or 6 would kind of just mean, well, you should probably start over now. Of course, if you're playing on the very highest difficulties, then such things might still be very detrimental, but in general I think it just adds to the experience. I've already been playing this version of the game for dozens of hours and I am nowhere near done. I mean, obviously this is a type of game you typically play for hundreds of hours, so it's not strange, but I just want to confirm that I am having a lot of fun with this game. Now, what I don't like about this game, and I'll be honest about that as well, other than the information sometimes being hard to find within the game, there is also a leveling system for your leaders. And that kind of gates some of the bonuses and buffs and combinations that you could get, kind of behind an arbitrary system that just requires you to play the game. I'm not a huge fan of that. There's probably going to be a mod out soon that maybe just takes that all away, and I couldn't blame you if you installed that mod if that comes out. But other than that, I don't really have anything to complain about the game. Is it a perfect game? No. Are there some versions about the previous games that are a little bit more fleshed out? Well, yes, because that game has a lot of DLCs already, and I'm sure we're going to see improvements to this game and more DLCs and mechanics and stuff like that being added as well. But the basics are in there. It's the game itself, I think that's the most important message I want to give you. The game itself is pretty good. The main complaints are the superficial things like UI and stuff like that. And even though those are annoying, if that's something that actively annoys you as well, those are very easy to fix, and I expect Firaxis to also do that pretty quickly. If it would be the gameplay itself that sucked, well, that would be a lot harder thing to fix. So yeah, the most important things of the game are there, they're really fun, really enjoyable, so I wouldn't hesitate too much all of those negative reviews that you might be seeing on Reddit, on the forums and YouTube here and there. Just watch a couple of playthroughs from some of the larger YouTubers, or, you know, one of mine, and then make up your mind, does this look fun? Is this the experience that I'm looking for? If not, then by all means keep playing the previous versions of the game. Again, they're pretty good, but in general, this is a highly enjoyable version of the game, and personally, this will probably be my favorite because I really like that more streamlined experience. But anyway, I hope this was useful for you. I just wanted to give you some perspective, and let me know in the comments what you think yourself as well. If you're still here, you're awesome, and I hope to catch you in the next one.